Hello everyone. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for ending a lifelong friendship because of how she treated me when her fiance became mad at her for not telling him I had liked him before? I, 26F, became friends with Claire, 26F, when we were 5. She was definitely my longest and my best friend for many years. We went to college together, and that's when Dean, 28M, came into our lives. I had a huge crush on Dean, but I was too shy to say anything about it to him. He was always super friendly and went out of his way to spend time with me back then, so I believed he liked me back. But he never asked me out, and when Claire and I were 21, he actually asked her out instead. Claire and I talked about it, and I told her if she was interested she should say yes. I wasn't mad. I told her at the time I had been too afraid to ask, and clearly it was her Dean liked. I made it 100% clear there were zero hard feelings, and after a few weeks my crush on Dean was gone and I was happy for the two of them. Dean and I didn't spend as much time together, but Claire and I did, and we remained very tight. Claire and Dean appeared very solid for all this time, and they even got engaged last year. I didn't have the same luck with guys for a while. But I met my boyfriend 2 years ago, and we've been long distance for most of that time, but that changed recently. We have a really good thing together, and I'm extremely happy with him. Claire had met my boyfriend before. Dean never had. After Dean met my boyfriend, Claire told me Dean was acting off. I asked if she'd spoken to him about it, and she told me he blew off her concerns about it. She vented to me about that and asked for my help, so I told her communicating was always the best thing. He told her he'd had a bad week at work and that's why he was off. Then he said he'd take some downtime for just himself when she was hanging out with me or me and my boyfriend. Dean's mood got worse and Claire vented to me some more. She asked me if it was possible Dean thought she was cheating. I told her it was possible. She decided to talk to Dean again, and she told me he had acted surprised, that she thought he was thinking of something like that, and he told her his bad mood was down to work stress still. Eventually Claire told me they had worked through everything and came up with the idea that the four of us should go on a double date. I asked my boyfriend, he was down for that, so 3 weeks ago the four of us went on a double date. It was weird from the start, and my boyfriend and I noticed immediately. Dean's normally very personable, but he was off with my boyfriend. Not outright hostile, but not friendly like he typically is. We all went back to Claire and Dean's place, and Claire pulled me aside to talk about how great she thought it went, and before I could say anything else she brought up how glad she was that my old crush on Dean hadn't come between us and we could enjoy stuff like double dates with each other and our partners. Dean practically ran into the room after she mentioned the crush and asked Claire what she meant about me having a crush on him. Claire said it was nothing and I used to like him before they started dating. From there it went from bad to worse. He was clearly angry and spoke to her like shit, asking why the fuck she never told him and what the fuck was wrong with her. I defended Claire and told him to knock it off. Dean ignored me and kept almost yelling at Claire about the fact she never told him I used to have a crush on him. Then Claire turned on me, and all of a sudden she was accusing me of wanting this and setting it up. She implied I did something with Dean and never told her, and that I had faked my boyfriend to try and make all of this happen. She started calling me a snake and how she just knew I had been out to sabotage the relationship all along. My boyfriend came into the room and asked if I wanted to go. I said yes. I told Claire if she could think that way about me when I had just defended her, then I didn't know why we were friends. Claire called me a bunch of names and again accused me of wanting this. My boyfriend rolled his eyes at her, which she took as proof, why I have zero idea. Then suddenly Dean was saying he'd really like me and not her back in our college days, and in Claire's eyes this was my fault. I left with my boyfriend because both Claire and Dean were yelling. Her at me and him at her. Claire sent me dozens of texts within the next 2 days saying all the same stuff as she had at her house. I reached out and asked why she was ever friends with me if she thought the worst of me. A few more days passed, and about 2 weeks ago she reached out to apologize and say she realized it was all Dean and how she didn't really mean what she said. She was just mad. She knew I didn't like Dean in that way anymore, and he was the one who had lied, etc. I told her it didn't excuse her thinking the worst of me and throwing insults at me for days. I told she took Dean's reaction and then Dean's words out on me, and I couldn't be friends with her when that's her default reaction to something like that. She has been begging and pleading with me through texts and DMs ever since. She left a few voice notes too because I don't answer her calls. She keeps saying our friendship can't end over this and she had a bad reaction, but she regrets it. I think it runs way deeper than that, given she continued to do this for days. We're supposed to be adults, and it reminded me of being back in high school and how quick teens can be to overreact. Not that adults never do. But I was always honest and loyal to Claire, and for things to go down the way they did has caused irreparable harm to the friendship in my opinion. But am I the bad person for ending our friendship over this? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for refusing to give back the stray cat I've been caring for after the owner showed up 8 months later? 6 months ago, during one of the worst winter storms our area has seen, I found a skinny orange tabby cat huddled under my porch, shivering and clearly starving. I'm not even a cat person, always had dogs, but I couldn't leave him out there to freeze. I brought him inside, dried him off, and gave him some tuna from my pantry, which he devoured instantly. The poor thing was in rough shape, matted fur, ear mites, and so thin I could feel every rib. No collar, no microchip. I checked at a vet the next day. I posted found cat notices online and around the neighborhood, but nobody claimed him. The vet estimated he was about 2 years old and had been on his own for quite a while based on his condition. I named him Rusty and gradually nursed him back to health. At first, I told myself it was temporary until I found his owners or a good home. But Rusty turned out to be the sweetest cat imaginable. He follows me everywhere, sleeps curled against my neck every night, and greets me at the door with happy chirps when I come home. He's transformed from a terrified, sickly stray into a healthy, playful companion who's honestly helped my mental health during a really tough year. Fast forward to yesterday. A woman knocked on my door saying she saw Rusty in my window and that he's actually her cat Pumpkin, who ran away 8 months ago when she moved to a new apartment across town. She had no photos of him on her phone, said they were on an old phone, no vet records, claimed she took him to a clinic that closed, and nothing to prove ownership except her description of a friendly orange tabby. She said she's been looking everywhere but didn't explain how she went 8 months without finding him despite my posts online. I politely but firmly told her that after 8 months of no one claiming him, extensive veterinary care, over $800 for vaccinations, neutering, dental work, etc., and the bond we've formed, Rusty is now my cat. I said I sympathized with her loss but couldn't give him up. She became increasingly upset, eventually crying and saying I was stealing her baby. Before leaving, she threatened to return with police. I feel terrible about her distress, but everything in me says she either isn't Rusty's original owner or was a neglectful one, given his condition when I found him. Rusty showed no recognition of her at all and actually hid behind my legs during the confrontation. I can't imagine giving him to someone who let him end up alone and half-starved in a blizzard, especially with zero proof of ownership. Am I the bad person for refusing to give Rusty back? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for correcting my husband in front of everyone? I, F, 27, have been with my husband, M, 41, for 6.5 years, married for 3. I got pregnant early in our relationship, so we have an almost 5-year-old. When I was pregnant, I was a student and had to do all the housework and baby's work because my husband was traveling for work a lot. He also was the sole provider for us at the time, so it was 100% on me. My mother-in-law occasionally was helping me. For example, she would come over to watch the baby so I can study or take a shower. Anyways, I now have a great job and we are happy. On Saturday, we were at my in-laws' house for dinner. My BIL and his wife announced that they are expecting a baby. My husband went on and on about how this is a partnership and how he has to be extra supportive and help her. Then he used our relationship as an example. He mentioned about how he worked full-time and cared for the baby in the house so I can finish my studies, but that's what a good husband does. My MIL looked in my eyes and said I was very lucky to have such a supportive husband. Here's what I might be an asshole. I interrupted my husband and asked, when was that, because these didn't happen with me. You were traveling for work at the time, and when you were home, you didn't lift a finger. You never ever changed a dirty diaper or woke up for midnight feeding. Yes, your mom helped a few times because I needed to study for my finals, but that's about it. Everyone went quiet. It was awkward. My mill changed the subject. On our drive back, my husband said I acted like an immature, self-centered child. He said he supported me by paying for my education, and if it wasn't because of him, I couldn't even graduate. My MIL also messaged me and called me ungrateful and said I was very disrespectful. She said I aired dirty laundry just to make myself look like a victim. My husband has barely talked to me since then. Do I owe him an apology? Was a self-centered jerk? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.